Hey guys, welcome back. Listen, we saw a historic breakout for the memory sector yesterday. Today, I think the world and all of us were asking, is it a trap? Well, the closing bell just rang a few hours ago, and I think it's fair to say that the gap and crap bears that we all feared, they just didn't get run over today. They were completely erased. Micron and SanDisk didn't just hold their levels. They are finding massive support as the market digests the single most explosive phase in semiconductor history. We're talking about a $700 billion memory monster and a $200 billion market cap milestone for a company that didn't even independently exist a year ago. We are seeing memory outperform Nvidia by 45x in the month of April. Today, we're going to look and talk about the hyper acceleration story of Micron, the triple up controversy surrounding SanDisk right now, and the dark pool prints that are showing the whales are still loading up on these stocks. Plus, we're going to look at the massive Nvidia move that we saw in the afternoon session and why is this so important for memory overall. This is the great memory reset that we're seeing right now, and we're all witnessing a significant transformation of this sector in real time. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at the stories. Let's take a look at the tape. Guys, if you haven't done it already, hit like, hit subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all your support. First, let's start off and just take a look at an article that I saw in Wall Street Journal. I think just sets the stage perfectly for what we're seeing. You can see the title of the article is Memory Makers Are the Hottest Thing in Tech. Are they making too much money? Profit margins of memory makers look unsustainably high, but AI demand is changing the game. If I scroll down here, you can just see a few things that I wanted to call out by highlighting. The first piece here is that, the days seem far in the past now as AI boom has sparked an epic run on memory chips and hard drives. Sales of all four companies have surged this year. SanDisk and Micron are now generating 80 cents of gross profit for every dollar of revenue. That compares with a wide range historically from single digits to around 60% on the 60 cents on the dollar. If you look down here at the graph on the far left side, you'll see the projected gross margins for this year with Micron up around 80%, SanDisk right there. And look how they compare to their other peers in the tech sector. Broadcom, Nvidia, TSMC, Qualcomm, AMD, and Intel. Clearly, the memory companies right now are showing us the pricing power and the demand they have in the market and their ability to retain the gross margins on what they sell. These companies are cash machines right now. You can see to the right, spending on AI would need to fall off significantly to dent the industry's current pricing power. And we know right below, all of the hyperscalers have just committed further. We don't see that spending dropping all. They are actually increasing their spending. And if we drive down here, I think the one piece here is we're seeing, concessions or admissions from all the CEOs. This one from Tim Cook saying that he now concedes that memory prices will drive the increasing impact on their business. We saw something similar from Meta, Microsoft, and other companies as well during their prints. But look at the share price and index performance from the memory players overall. I love the piece that I've highlighted up above, that Micron, which has jumped 75% in the last month, is now valued at more than ExxonMobil in the midst of this booming oil market. If that alone doesn't demonstrate how much growth these companies have experienced and the impact they're having in the market, did it surprise you when you read it that they are now valued more than ExxonMobil? It did for me at first, but I don't know why, because we're seeing massive improvements. If I jump over to this article, you could take a look at what it says. Micron did in 3 days what once took 37 years. I have to set the stage before we dive into the performance of these companies and what they did today, because it is what we're seeing right now is historic with the memory companies. And when I scroll down here, you can clearly see that Micron, talking about yesterday, they closed at an all-time high of 640. Today, we saw them beat that. They closed at 666 today overall. But look at their market cap. Yesterday, it was at 722. It mentions here that it was up another 2% intraday today, and the market cap is 737. Well, they closed over 4% of growth on the day today, and their market cap right now is 752. Now, what makes this article so unique is right here. It said the company has added over $100 billion in market cap in just 3 trading days. And it took Micron 37 years to amass its first 100 billion in market cap. So it took them 37 years to get to 100 billion, and they did it in 3 days, in 3 trading sessions overall. That is historic, and that I wanted to show you that because it sets the stage for what we are seeing right now in the sector and what we're seeing with these companies overall. Let's dive in and just take a look at Micron and what, in fact, we did see today. As I mentioned earlier, Micron, it closed at $666.59. It was up $26 on the day, over a 4% growth. Massive improvement. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback in the after hours right now in the pre-market. They're down by, let's call it just under 2%, 654, but still significantly above where we finished yesterday overall. So this was a strong performance. And if we jump into the candle chart, a few things I want to point out to you. If you just, like we expected, you remember what I said at the end of my video yesterday. I said, I just have a feeling that we're going to gap up, and then gap and crap, I actually called it. And it's what we saw in that first 30 minutes. If you kind of take a look at the board, and I'll show you SanDisk had a very similar pattern. Where we finished on Tuesday, we had an immediate gap up because we saw that support in the after hours in the pre-market going into today's session. And then we had an immediate pullback. I had a feeling we would see this. I just thought we reached such high levels. The stock went such vertical over the last few days that we were going to see profit taking. We were going to see some algorithmic selling. And it's what we did. The stock got all the way down right here to a low of 636 overall. So we see it kind of drop down significantly, but then you see massive support. This is definitely a cup and handle recovery, we will call it, where you see this V-shaped recovery, this vertical ramp right after. And if you guys remember, I put this blue line in here vertically because at 640, because what I mentioned is this is the level we need to watch. We had a $1.5 billion closing cross at 640 yesterday, after yesterday's session. And I said, this is going to be the institutional floor. And this was what I was going to keep my eye on. Can Micron hold that 640 level? Well, we broke through it in the morning. We got down to about 630. But we found that institutional support. Look at that vertical ramp at 630. Drove it all the way back up to a high here of 668. And then we saw a little bit of sideways consolidation through the day, but then a nice strong finish at the end. So you saw that nice vertical ramp. I think that's a huge sign of institutional conviction, institutional support for this stock. To me, it continues to make me feel very bullish overall about Micron moving forward. The other piece I want to call out is just the closing cross that we did see today as well for Micron. So let me pull that up, because right here at the closing cross, we saw an even bigger support overall. A $2.2 billion trade right in the last minute, almost, 3.2 million shares of Micron right at the 666 level across the board. And I even want to take you up higher. If we look at, an hour later at 5:05, we had a $520 million trade at the 666 level, just under 700, just over 780,000 shares. And we also had a couple additional ones. We only had another $1 billion of dark pool prints right here by whales. One for 340 at 666, one for 100 million at 666. We had a lower one here of 13 million at 653, but clearly the other massive trades are outshining that. And I'm starting to feel that this 66 right now is potentially a new support floor for the stock. Now let's jump over and talk about the other star today, or the other star we've been tracking, which is SanDisk. Because if you want to understand the difference between a retail mindset and an institutional mindset, you need to look no further than SanDisk tape today. And let me just show you overall. You can see what SanDisk did today. It finished just over 1,400, about 1410, we'll call it, up $3, a 0.25% growth. Getting a little back in the after hours right now. I think that's a trend across all the memory providers, 3% back in the after hours. But guys, I think if you just looked at the tape overall and you looked at the headlines, you would say, okay, SanDisk had a flat day. But the actual price action today for SanDisk was a masterclass in high velocity shakeouts. Let's take a look at the 5-minute candle chart for this stock. And you can see very similar. Where we finished here on Tuesday, we had an immediate gap up as well, like we were expecting, like we saw in the after hours with SanDisk, and then a massive kind of shakedown. Very similar what we saw from Micron, but this one extended a little further. It was a wild day, I would say. Around midday, we saw a massive high volume flush with SanDisk that took it down like I said, to just under 13.40 a share. It was about a 7.5% intraday drop in a matter of minutes for the stock. Most retail traders, when they see that, that signals to them that it's a get out time. It's a get out signal, and it likely wiped out every stop loss in the room today. But if you look what happened right after that, we saw massive support. The whales just didn't let it sit there. They engineered that violent kind of V-shaped recovery right here that we see. This is the support that we've been seeing with SanDisk. This is the support and why we're seeing price targets now get over, 1,800, 2,000. Wait till I show you the price target that dropped today, or at least speculation of where the stock could be. It wasn't a price target, but where it just could be based on revenues and earnings per share. I think it's going to knock you off your chairs, but we're going to get to that in a moment. But the whales didn't let it sit there. They engineered that massive recovery that pushed it right back up to that 1436, and it finished the day with a strong rally, as you can see, a nice finish in the close at about 14.10 a share. And while everybody yesterday was screaming that this stock was overbought, they were looking at that RSI. I think if you look at the RSI right now, for the most part of the day in the afternoon, it was really neutral, right in that kind of mid to high 50s range. If you look on the screen right now, you can see that 14-day RSI is right about, low 60s. So this has reset. So in kind of my opinion, I would say that the overbought condition has been completely neutralized right now. SanDisk isn't exhausted. It is reloaded. The whales spent the entire afternoon defending the new $208 billion market cap for this company. They defended it like it was their home turf. And we have to think about that for a second. Guys, this is, Western Digital spun this company off barely a year ago. I think in the last 12 months, the company has soared 3,500% in growth. It's so shocking. It took me a while to get that out, but it has soared. And the one article I want to pull up that just to put it into perspective, kind of calling it an April bombshell. But right here, if you just look at according to the data, I have it highlighted, but you can see the title of this from Big Go Finance is Memory Complex Outruns the AI King. The AI King being Nvidia. But if you look at the market data, SanDisk delivered an 81% return in April alone. That performance was 45 times greater than Nvidia's modest 1.8 gain over the same time period. SanDisk now stands as the top performing stock in the entire S&P 500 for 2026, building on an already historic run that has seen shares surge more than 3,600 over the trailing 12 months. Just look at the graph below. I mean, all of the Fab Four, the memory titans that we follow on this channel, that we love on this channel, look at their gains on Tuesday, look at their year-to-date rallies and their 12-month surge. SanDisk, we obviously called out at 3,600, but Western Digital, 170%. Seagate, 686% growth, and Micron, 616% growth. That's the power we're seeing with this sector in the market. And the piece that I want to talk to you about is, I think where I said it was going to knock you off the chair, was the target that some people are speculating SanDisk can get to. And here it is here. Prediction, SanDisk stock is going to 4,000 in 1 year. Seems wild, but let's walk through the math overall. And I think as we scroll down, and guys, this is on Yahoo Finance. You can find this article if you want to look at it yourself. But even I'll call a few things out. It says that there's ample evidence supporting that the red hot growth that SanDisk has been enjoying isn't going away anytime soon. In fact, there's a good chance the stock will touch 4,000 in the next year, making it one of the top stocks to buy and hold right now. So let's get into the case. And I'm not going to go through everything. I've highlighted some of it, but it's obviously based on a few factors. The need for more storage in AI data centers, a shift towards premium smartphones and personal computers with high storage needs to help them run AI workloads, edge devices, which include smartphones, PCs. They produced 62% of SanDisk's top line revenue last quarter. The average storage capacity in smartphones could increase by 5% this year. And we get down here, and Counterpoint Research expects generative AI smartphone shipments to increase at an annual rate of 26% through 2030. And let me keep scrolling down. The data center customers are entering into long-term agreements with SanDisk. The company signed 3 long-term contracts last quarter, valued at $42 billion. But they also have noted now and kind of signaled to the market that they've signed 2 new long-term contracts in the current quarter. indicating that its revenue pipeline is getting stronger. And then if we look at the revenue growth right here on this screen, you could see in the purple at the bottom is what we expect for this fiscal year. And then if you look at the next 2 fiscal years, the orange is for next year, so 2027, the blue for 2028. So significant growth, right? We're talking about doubling the revenue growth in a year. And the other thing that's driving it overall is the earnings per share. You can get right there where they expect SanDisk to finish this year at an earnings per share of $64 and where they expect to be next fiscal year, $168 earnings per share. So this is what they clearly come out and say, assuming that SanDisk earnings are in line with the market's expectations of $168 per share in the next fiscal year, which will end in June of 2027. It trades at a 22 times earnings, and at that rate, earnings at that time, in line with S&P's index of forward earnings, stock price could reach almost $4,000. I think that would be a 3x jump from where we trade today. And given that SanDisk is trading at just 23 times forward earnings right now, investors are getting a great deal on this AI stock. So guys, dive in there, take a look at that article on Yahoo Finance yourself. It's mind-blowing math, but is there a chance that we could see SanDisk get to 4,000 shares? I think it would probably split before that, but the reality is that the revenue and the earnings per share growth is explosive with this company. Now, I do want to get into the Nvidia piece at the end. Let me just jump over and bring you back to that because I want to talk about that Nvidia growth that we saw today. Nvidia had a strong day across the board. You can see right here. They were up. Nvidia was up actually almost 6% today, closed at just under 208 a share. Couple things that drove Nvidia's performance today. Biggest piece would be the first one, which was their partnership with Corning that they launched, or that they announced, excuse me. They signed a fundamental, kind of a long-term partnership with Corning. The deal focuses on strengthening the U.S. manufacturing for AI infrastructure, specifically through advanced optical connectivity. This partnership secures NVIDIA's supply chain for high-speed interconnects, which is a massive bullish signal for the Blackwell Ultra and the Rubin ramps. The other piece I think was driving NVIDIA today was just a bit of a sympathy lift from AMD. We know that NVIDIA often trades in tandem with their chief rival, AMD, and AMD had massive earnings last night. It's the rising tide for the entire sector. And AMD today was up over 18% and it closed at $421 a share. It's proving that the demand for the AI GPUs is still outstripping supply. Investors, they used the morning dip today for NVIDIA to accumulate shares, betting that NVIDIA's own upcoming earnings that they're print on May 20th will echo what we saw with AMD yesterday, and it'll echo what we're seeing with the data center strength for the GPUs overall. So one last thing I have before I close out the video is I just want to pose a debate for everyone in the community. I think we go back to what we talked about with Micron and SanDisk. If you had to pick one right now, if we look at Cantor Fitzgerald's case, they say that Micron, they're valuing a price target at $700. It's a 29% upside. We see this as diversified giant with huge memory products, new ones that they just launched. They have a BBB plus credit right now from Fitch. And then we see SanDisk. They have an $1,800 price target from Cantor Fitzgerald. It's a 52% upside. They are a pure play hyper growth engine. $42 billion in contracts already signed. So I'm going to put the question out to all the subscribers on the channel. Who would you pick right now? If you had to pick one, are you riding the safer large cap leader in Micron, or are you choosing the pure play momentum rider in SanDisk? Drop your answer below in the comment. I'm curious to see what you guys would pick. But in closing, guys, memory is no longer a trade. It is a defining strategic asset of 2026. We know that. We continue to see it. It continues to get validated each and every day on the market. If you own storage, you own the cycle right now. Today was the ultimate stress test for these players. The Bears tried to break SanDisk at about $1,300, $1,330 a share, and they tried to fade Micron off the line, off that 640 line, but they failed. The support was there. This is what a structural re-rating looks like. If you're sitting on the sidelines, if you're waiting for a 10% dip to get in for a cheap play with these, you are just fighting the tape. You are fighting the massive whales and the institutional support we see. You're fighting against that $3 billion wall of institutional money that I mentioned earlier. The memory super cycle has accelerated past anything we've seen in the last 37 years. We are now, this channel right now, hopefully you're valuing this content, because we're about 500 subs away from the 10,000 subscriber milestone. If the ground truth data helps you that I give out each and every day, if the content that I put out each and every day helps you manage some of the volatility that we see in the market, hit that subscribe button, become part of the community, join the channel. Let's hit this 10,000 milestone together as a community. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.